And then, yep, so this is going to come up in a second. And I'll share it to my page. I'll tag you in it, and then you should be all right, mate. So we're now streaming. We're now live streaming. Brilliant. So I'll just bring that up. Where are we? Here we go. Hi guys. Just a few things to do before I introduce tonight's guest. Just got to make sure that we're up and running. If you've got any comments, please stick them in the thing below. Always glad to have people involved. You know, we love having the fans getting involved and, you know, making themselves heard. Here we go. Yep. We're up and running. Hi guys, welcome to well, The Accidental Journalist, episode 8 of Live and Undrugged. We're here with aBishop. Tonight's episode is sponsored specifically by No Means City Clothing and Johnny Taylor. He sent me a beautiful t-shirt a couple of weeks ago. I would be wearing it, but I've kind of misplaced it. But No Means City, go have a look. He's done some really nice designs, some nice gangland designs, and we so we're sponsored by them. Oh, he's on there. Hi mate. My wife is on here. Hello darling. Joey Barnett, he's on here. Angie Barnett. Hi guys, thanks for coming. So right, let me just hit record. Thanks for coming on at short notice, Ray.
No, pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. So you know, I just want to find out a bit about your life, you know. So can we go back to the start, back to being a kid, back to your childhood, where it all started?
Yeah, of course you can. First of all, thank you for having me, Jack. Thank you for everyone for being here. Good luck with the clothing. And I heard you mention Joey Burnett. I'm ordering, in the process of ordering your book, Joe. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I've heard some fantastic stuff, mate, and I look forward to reading it. First and foremost, why do I do this? Why do I come on these platforms and whatever else? Certainly not to give it the large. Certainly not to give it the old, oh, I'm a gangster and all this fucking rubbish, because I'm not. I'm fucking not. First and foremost, I'm just someone who made some terrible fucking decisions in life and paid some fucking terrible prices. Forgive my language. It's the only way I can. It's the only way I can emphasise myself. You know, I talk how I talk. It's, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? But
with post watershed, it's fine, mate.
I mean, I think you asked me to go back to childhood. The one thing I remember about childhood is feeling like the hole in the middle of the polo. You know, I wasn't a tough kid. You know, I wasn't like I've been portrayed in later life in certain circles or whatever else through things that have happened in my life where people might go, oh, he's a bit. No, you know, as a child, I was a very frightened fucking child. I was full of fear. I used to suffer from anxiety and get anxiety attacks and things as a kid when I was like 14, 15 years old, and never knew what they were. You know, I didn't come from you know, I don't blame anyone from the bad choices I made. So if I speak about childhood in a sense of I'm trying to justify the bad choices I made, I'm really not, because I'm way beyond that, way beyond the blame thrower. But as a kid, it was hard. You know, my dad was an alcoholic. There was not a lot to go around. You know, my dad basically drank everything. You know, my mum had to hide money to feed us. There was me and 4 siblings. You know, my mum had to hide money to feed us. You know, I'm not throwing mud at my dad. My dad's dead. He died as a young man because of alcoholism. Alcoholism killed my dad at 50 years old. He was a sick man, but as a kid, I didn't understand that. So as a kid, I think I used to have this wild imagination, and I used to invent like fantasy. I think that was like my first sort of drug of choice, as it were, or escapism, is like to invent an alternate scenario, because life as a child for me was actually quite painful. I was quite deprived. We didn't have a lot. There was not a lot. I never had money or anything like that. I never had a bike as a kid or anything like that. But then a lot of the kids around me didn't also. It's not like I grew up in a rich area. None of us had a lot. But as a kid, you don't. I didn't understand. And the one thing I didn't have as a kid was nurture and love and guidance. I never had that. And I sort of envied the kids who did. When I saw kids who had like the nuclear family, the mum, the dad, the bit of money to go to the fairground, or we're going on a holiday and stuff like that, I used to sort of envy that. And I used to say to people, because I was quite embarrassed of my dad, and when my mum eventually had the courage to leave my dad, because he was also quite violent as a result of suffering from alcoholism. And when she had the courage to leave him, obviously we were even more impoverished, because like having no father there. And then I used to say to people, "Oh, my dad's American. He lives in America," because that was the only way I could deal with it as a kid, because I felt embarrassed. I felt feelings that were very big for me as a child were feelings like of shame and stuff like that, like not having what other kids had, like nice trainers or nice clothes and things like that. And I think at some point in my childhood, looking back, this is retrospectively, at some point I just went, I'm stepping out of this feeling world because it's too painful, and I'm going to go into this world, the thinking world, the head world.
Yeah.
Never a good move, because 90% of the problems in my life and all the shit I've been through, and also put people through. I mean, let's get it right. I was a nasty, fucking horrible, violent fucking criminal. There's not much I haven't fucking done bar murder someone. I'm not going to sit and say, oh, like some people say, I murdered 10 people. Let's get it right. I never murdered anyone. But was I capable of it? Most fucking definitely. And that's because I was living in this fucking thing. But the conflict in me was there from a child. It's like the feeling world, the nice, gentle, soft, kind person, which I like to think I've become today, was completely switched off, snuffed out, and I went into the head world. And that's the world of fantasy and illusion and chasing things. And makes sense?
Yeah, that's the word that you see on TV. I can really relate to that bit. I had a relatively good childhood. I was adopted, but I was told on my 8th birthday, and that's when the light switched out for me. Been told I was adopted, and that they love me very much, but they weren't my real parents. So I created this world in my head, and I created this fantasy, and I told lies, and I became a good mimic, and I could. Yeah, so I can really relate to what you were saying there about going into that sort of storybook.
And I don't think we're unique, but I think people who choose a criminal path or a drug addicted lifestyle or alcohol or whatever, it's like Shakespeare said, life is but a stage in which a man must play many parts.
Yeah.
A wise man can always play the part of the fool, but the fool can never play the part of the wise man.
That's true.
These are little mantras. If I come out of any snippet of wisdom, I'm not trying to be super clever or wise, but it's the snippets and the little affirmations and little things that I've read over the years or been told by people more experienced than me that have guided me. Everyone's a teacher. And the things that have stayed with me are the things that have instigated the greatest change in me, because they go beyond the realm, they hit the soul. It's like the language of the heart. that what doesn't come from the heart doesn't reach the heart. So in doing this for you tonight, I hope I can be as brutally honest as I can, and I hope it helps
Please
someone.
do. Please do.
I hope it helps
what we're all about.
me, you know.
I find this cathartic. So you know, I know other people have said when they've come on the show that they find it cathartic. It's good for people like us to put our lives out there to say how it was and how it is, and actually, it's not all what you see on TV. It's not all glam.
No, definitely not.
We need to lay it bare. And the thing about this being live is that you lay yourself bare, and anybody that comes on, I hold my hand up, and it takes a lot of guts for someone like you to come on and lay it all bare. So, yeah.
Well, I think, you know, for me, I think, you know, I've tried to be quite introspective today. And the reason I'm quite introspective, meaning I look inwards more than I do outwards. It's like I don't need, as time's gone on and I've matured and whatever else, I don't need affirmation from anyone else to feel whole. It's how I feel that matters, and about looking in the mirror, you know, it's that sort of stuff. And I've got the benefit of doing a lot of therapy. I did do a lot of therapy when I'd done a long prison sentence, because you know my story. Anyone who's followed my story, I've done a lot of therapy. Plus, I also done some academic stuff where I've got a degree in psychology and whatever else. So I've got some sort of understanding of where I went wrong, and also where other people have gone wrong or are going wrong. And it's my belief. We spoke about this earlier, Jack, didn't we? That it's never too late to change the world, as long as you change your little corner, because that's all you can change. That's all you can change. And no one is gone beyond recall. So it's like, I look back now and I look at a lot of these youngsters now that are getting into crime and believing they're into becoming a gangster and it's all great and this is the life and whatever else. You know, we got into crime when we were young. You know, I got into crime because I was led astray. It was like I needed to belong. I never felt like I belonged in my own family, so I needed to belong. And it's like, this is why you get a lot of these youngsters right now have to be in a gang, and people say, well, they join gangs because there's strength in numbers and all be strong. No, it's a sense of belonging. It's like the hole in the polo, how I started it, the hole in the soul. It's like we're trying to feel whole as human beings. And when I was young, I got involved in them crowds because that's where I felt I belonged. You know, water finds its own level, you know, and you know, if they say, if you want to know where you're at, look at the company you keep, because your own mind will not allow you to see where you're at. It's like the strength of denial, DENIAL, don't even know I am lying, you know. So look at the company you keep. My experience is, when I was in crime and criminality, now I'm not knocking everyone involved in crime and criminality, because let's get it right, there's some fucking good people there, some of the best people, and I'm not one of these people who sit here and say everyone in crime's a scumbag or anything. No, but everyone in crime and criminality is fucking lost and selling themselves short. I've met some of the best people in the world who are involved in that fucking life, but they're selling themselves short. And then I've met some of the nicest people in the world who appear to be there. They've been the worst fucking shitbags in the world. So there's no rhyme or reason.
No.
But getting involved in that life, first and foremost, it is about, for us, and for me anyway, it was about being impoverished. It was about not having stuff and feeling like I mean, crime and especially, it is selfishness. Crime and criminality is a million form. It is a selfish way of life, first and foremost, because there is no such thing as a victimless crime. Now, I used to think there was, you know, like when I was young and I said nick cars and things like that, you think, it's only a nick car, but that someone might need that to go to work. They might not be able to afford to get it fixed or lose their car. When we used to joyride and smash their car, we had no fucking right to do that. But we'd done it as kids because we wanted excitement and whatever else, and to be the whatever, you know. And I look back sometimes and I think, what would I have said to that kid? What would I have said to that kid? And sometimes I'm fucking stumped. I don't know what I would have said to me, but I sure as hell know what I would like to say to some of the others. You know, it's a funny thing. It's like, it's that saying, isn't it? Take my advice. I'm not using it. It's like it's hard to speak to yourself sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
easier to speak to others.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate. Recently, I've had some great. I don't want to come across as I'm fucking a saint, but I'm not. But I've had some great successes in being privileged enough to
Yeah.
talk to some young people that are quite fucking damaged and going the wrong way. And the fact that I'm an author and I wrote my book, you know, some of the greatest satisfaction I had out of writing my book is I've had messages from people that read my book. And I had messages from people that read my book in prison, in young offenders institutions and whatever else, saying, it changed my life. I'm going to college or whatever. And, you know, that's why I wrote it. That's why I put my fucking life out there and laid my soul bare. You know, that's so rewarding. And I've just recently secured another deal. I'm very privileged, very fortunate. I've just secured a 2-book deal with Virgin, and
Nice.
I've got another book being released in spring 2022. It was supposed to be this year, so, and that's going to be a redemptive, a redemptive tone. It's never about giving it the big one. It's not what I'm about. You know, I don't need that. I don't need to be a cigar smoking. Look at me, I'm a fucking gangster. Because if you want to be that way, then there's something fucking wrong. So I'd rather be known as someone who made a fucking terrible mess of his life, but came good in the second half and gave something back to society for the mistakes he fucking made.
Yeah.
That would benefit someone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So let's go back to the first part of your life. So you've got into crime because you were poor. So what that was stealing cars and things like that.
Well, yeah, and a lot of gang activity. I mean, when we were young, because I grew up on a council estate in southeast London. We were predominantly a gang. You know, I mean, looking back, although we weren't like the Bloods or the Crips or didn't have a name, as it were, we were known as the kids from WCE, which stood for Woolwich Common Estate. So there's probably 20 or 30 of us, you know, and we were all, you know, I met some of the best people, the best teachers. You know, I don't think there was any badness amongst us in terms of how I felt, you know, in terms of my moral compass. You know, we were little shitbags, but we learned the fucking rules. You know, we didn't go around bullying other kids. We didn't go around starting fights for no reason. We didn't burgle people's houses or anything like that. So I suppose my step to organised crime was always going to happen, because when we were young, we were quite an organised little gang, and we didn't even fucking know it. Like, we all had our own expertises. Do you know what I mean? There was plenty of us, and we all had, I suppose a way to say it really, rather than a gang, would be like syndicate. Right. Everyone in the gang had a purpose. You know, we had the older members who were the wiser, the tougher ones, the smarter ones. You know what I mean? It was, so we was like a collective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just to slightly deviate off the point a bit. It's different now. It used to be like that many years ago, when it felt like, you know, you were all in it together and it was kind of family. And you have people throwing LL and R about, you know, love, loyalty and respect, and half these people that throw it about don't even understand what it is. You know, it was a different time. I'm not going to glorify it. It was different.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we had the acid house era, didn't we? So, I mean, we had like an epoch where we look back on it. It was like our 60s, wasn't it? You know, like, yes, the 60s crowd, they had a common unison, a common purpose. The 70s and early 80s, they had the football, didn't they? And that was their thing. And we had like the late 80s, which was like the acid house era. So
89, 90.
Well, 88, I'll go back a little bit earlier, when it was more sort of underground, when we sort of got into it, you know. But I think now, what a lot of the kids now, it's fucking fear. You know, a lot of them are carrying knives and whatever else through fucking fear. But let's not make excuses. A lot of them are fucking savages. They're little savages, and a lot of the people that do get caught and stabbed, they're just innocent people that get caught in the fucking crossfire. You know, postcodes and fucking, you know, it's fucking sad. It's terrible. You know, of course, there was violence when I was young, and there was terrible violence, you know, but it wasn't mindless fucking violence. You know, nowadays, a lot of it seems mindless. And if you want my honest opinion, it's fucking drugs 90% of the time. Drugs. It's all drug related, selling drugs and whatever else. It's a fucking shame. And in the advent of social media and all this stuff, we never had all this stuff. So nowadays you can say the wrong comment on social media and you're offending someone. It's like there's no such thing as a closed door. Do you know what I mean? You could sit with your crew when you was a kid and say, oh, that fucking idiot from that other estate, he's this or that. You do that now. It's all over social media in 10 minutes and people want to gang up on you and 5, 6 of them want to come and do you. It's fucking sad. It's worrying times.
People have died over it. It's quite shocking, really.
And the saddest part about it, what I will say, you know, about a lot of these young, I mean, let's get it right, a lot of the knife crime, I'm not saying all, but a lot of the knife crime is young fucking men killing young men. Now, I've had the beauty and I say the beauty, I've had the privilege, I don't know if that's the right word, but because I've done a lot of prison, as you know, and I've been to some of the high security estates, and I've been with a lot of these young men from Brixton and places like that have committed murder when they were young men. And I've met them when they're 10, 15 years into their life sentences, when they've grown up, when they've matured. And do you know what? They are usually amongst the most fucking remorseful people you would ever meet, because they were one way when they were young. And they're like forced. In a sense, they felt like they were forced to be that way. You know, they had no fucking choice. You know, sad.
It is sad. It is sad. You know, I think people from like us, from our generation, we understood what we were walking into. We knew what we were walking into. But these days, it's just all over the place. You don't know what you're walking into.
Well, we did to a degree, but the thing about crime and criminality and that lifestyle is it's an illusion to feel like you're in control, because you never are. It's in control of you. Crime is, and criminality and everything that goes with it is like a big fucking demon. It will take you to places you don't want to go, and it will turn you into someone you don't want to be, and it'll turn you into someone you're not. You know, you're never in control. You believe you are, but you're not, because you're dealing, by virtue of living that life, you're dealing with the most devious and deceptive people in humanity, really. You know, I mean, that was my story. It took me from one place, and there was many a time I woke up and thought, how the fuck has my life turned out like this? It's like you believe you're in control. It's a fucking illusion.
Yeah. So how did you go from like, what was the progression going from like sort of petty theft to robbing a bank? I mean,
well,
you know.
For me, it was like when I was young, you know, I was always trying to prove myself. Because I wasn't one of these strong, tough kids, I had to act as if, I had to act like I was, so I could be like the older kids on the estate, the people you looked up to, the people you feared. The best defense against people that I felt I was scared of when I was a kid was to act like a fucking lunatic. And in acting like a lunatic, in the end, you become a fucking lunatic, because you're living up to something that it's the contradiction in you. It's like you know, I was always a nice, quite timid person, but some of the crazy things I'd done, and drugs played a part, because drugs tainted my mind when I was a kid. I used to take drugs and whatever else, and that played a big part. But also just the need for acceptance, you know, and the need to belong. That's a very fucking powerful thing for someone that's lost. And when you've got older kids and on my estate, as it were, and they were out doing bits of work, we called it, going out doing robberies or whatever else, and coming back with the trappings, and you see the wealth. You know, we're nicking cars and nicking car stereos, getting 40, 50 quid, and nicking cars and selling them here and there and nicking a little living. And someone's going out doing one robbery and coming back thousands of pounds. All of a sudden, it becomes attractive, you know? And it's like a natural progression.
Yeah.
For me, it was a natural progression.
I mean, I don't know whether I could have ever done that, to be honest. You know, that I suppose that's I won't say takes balls. Well, I suppose it does. But what is going through your mind when you're walking into a bank with the intention to rob it?
Well, anyone who says they didn't feel fear when they done it is a liar. Is a liar. And I know some serious fucking old pavement artists, like serious old robbers, you know, and I've done bird with them, people robbing security vans, whatever else, and they all say the same thing. They're honest, so fucking course you feel fucking scared. I used to have a couple of things of brandy or something before we went on a bit of work, and sometimes when we actually done them, we'd be half fucking cut and half pissed when we done them, and it'd be just like we'd be like Captain fucking Caveman. But it's trial and error. I mean, I became, between the ages of about 18 to about 24, 25, I was quite prolific. You know, I wouldn't say I'd done loads of successful robberies, because if I did, I would have only needed to do one or two.
Yeah.
But I've done lots. And as you do your first one, your second one, your third one, your fourth one, you become almost, I became almost cocksure and sort of like don't really give a fuck, you know. You know, not proud of it. I robbed the same post office 3 times in a month. You know, and even you get so cocksure, even in terms of a disguised pair of glasses, a baseball cap, and you're in there fucking robbing it, and you know you're in and out quick, and it's like an art. You sort of switch off and you just become accustomed to it. It's just, you know, that's how it was for me. And it was very much so. I mean, I used to do it with 1, 2 others, but then in the end, I was so fucking confident. I'd do them by myself, and I'd done many by myself. I'd walk in by myself. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and just go, fucking hell, I'm like, what should I do? I need some money or whatever else. Because most of the time it's through desperation. I'm going to lie and say it was like I was an organised robber that done it because I had vast pots of money. Most of the time it'd be, or whatever I got, which was usually only a few £1,000 at most, I'd spend it all partying and whatever else. And as soon as I was fucking skinned, I'd be off running again, doing another, what I would call desperate Captain Caveman fucking robbery. You know, here's an example. I walked into a Blockbuster video once. I was a fucking member of the fucking Blockbuster. I walked in there to hire a fucking video out. And I've gone to the counter and she's opened the till and I've seen a big wad of notes. I pulled a fucking knife out and fucking robbed it. I'm a fucking member of the store, for fuck's sake. You know, not even thinking I'm going to get arrested or whatever, you know. And that's the insanity of it, you know. It's like, you know, it's crazy. It's like and that same insanity at that level, you know, when you do like a silly robbery like that and you get a few £100, you think, well, that's fucking insane. That's muggy. You're going to get nicked anyway. That insanity is no different than the person who goes out and does a 30, 40, 50 million pound robbery, because how many of them have got away with it?
Exactly.
You don't. Exactly. You do a big, massive robbery that everyone fucking thinks is going to make me, you always get fucking caught because they throw every fucking resource at it. And not only that, their intel's so fucking good, grasses and everything else, but their intel, police know who's capable of what.
Well, yeah, of course I do. I mean, I had Peter Blexley on just before Christmas.
They know who's capable of what. It's like when the Hatton Garden thing went down. They would have had, before they even went out on the street looking for grasses, they would have had a load of names that they would have known who's actually capable of a bit of work like this. So you're never going to fucking get away with it, you know. You're never going to get away with it.
No.
It looks good. You know, it makes it look good, but you know, who's got away with it? Brinks Mac never got away with it. The £53 million Securitas depot, they never got away with it. Hatton Garden lot, they never got away with it. You know, the Millennium Dome, Ray Betson, I know Ray Betson, Millennium Dome well, I mean, they never got away with it. And who the fuck are you going to sell a £200 million diamond to? It's not the sort of thing you can sell down the pub, is it?
Exactly.
But we'd all want to steal it, wouldn't we? And say, I've got a £200 million diamond, but do you know anyone you could sell that to for £100 million? I fucking don't.
Well, no, but I think that's the kind of romanticism that's in it. We in our generation were brought up on these programs that, you know, films like McVicker and stuff like that. These programs that, like, it was cops and robbers.
Yeah,
you know, Dempsey and Makepeace.
The lines become blurred. Who was the good guys? Who was the bad guys? Now, when we were active criminally, especially when I was out, we viewed ourselves as the good guys, you know, because the police were the bad guys, simple as that. I mean, for me as a young man, I had an intense hatred for the police, an intense fucking hatred. And the reason why is from my own experience of them, not what I'd been told about them or anything else. When I was a kid, the police were fucking bastards. You know, inner city policing in London in the late 70s, early 80s, right up until the early 90s, they were fucking bastards. You know, we had the SPG, which was a special patrol group, used to come onto our estate, vans full of them, and they'd fucking give you an ID. You know, they would nick you for things you hadn't done. So, and I was getting into trouble with the police at 14, 15 years old, when really, you know, I was getting into trouble with the police for things I hadn't fucking done, really. And I don't making excuses here, but when that's your experience of them, now, if the police had been a bit more community minded, then perhaps like a lot of them are now, I think the police get a bad rap now. And if you want my humble opinion, I think the policing was better then in some senses, not in every sense, because a lot of innocent people went to jail and everything else. I'm not fucking, you know, I don't hate the police today. What I'm trying to say, I'm not loving them. I don't hate them. I don't have any dealings with them because I live a law-abiding life. But back then, in some senses, I think policing was fucking better. Now their hands are so fucking tied, and that's why we've got the problem we've got in society now. The kids running around on mopeds without crash helmets, and oh, we can't chase them. Running around with knives, oh, we can't search them. I mean, when we were kids, we knew don't walk around with knives and things like that, because if the old Bill fucking catch you one, they're going to give you a fucking hiding. You know, and if it was a bit like that today, maybe we wouldn't have so many of these fucking savages. I mean, you see some of them nowadays, and they fucking attack the police when the police turn up. You know, I think, well, you know, once law and order's completely broke down, we've lost society as a whole. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I think where I live, you know, in the east of England, the policing is all right. You know, and actually, you know, there is crime there. You know, there's a lot of crime in Norwich, and you know, we've got the biggest police station in my town, but it's more in the shadows. Whereas where I'm originally from, like Wakefield, nobody's got any respect for them. You know, I've seen fire engines have to get police escorts because you've got kids 10, 11, 12 up to 16 throwing Molotov cocktails at emergency vehicles because there's just not that respect there. It's absolute madness. You know, but that's societal conditioning. That's the conditioning that's happened over this past 20 years.
Yeah.
You know,
it's absolute madness. Absolute madness. I mean, I look back and I think, were they all bad and were they all bastards? It's like anything. It's like, you know, someone who takes drink or who drinks or drugs, as I usually say to them, well, why did you take drink and why did you take drink? Because everyone did. Well, that's erroneous statement, because when I was a kid, why did I drink and feel the need to take ease and sniff coke and everything else? Because everyone did. No, just the people that I chose to associate with did. So it's like water finding its own level again. It's like attracts like, you know, we seek out those that mirror ourselves, you know, and I look back and I say, were all the police bastards when I was a kid? No, there was some fucking good ones as well. You know, there was sometimes used to come up the estate and actually try to talk to us. But we used to fucking look at them like, who the fuck you know, like with our attitude and everything else like that. We know better than you and whatever else. And I look back now and I think some of them actually weren't that fucking bad. You know, I had a couple of experiences. One particular police officer, he was actually half all right. He caught me one day in Woolwich Town Centre. Me and a friend of mine who's no longer with us, God bless him. So a lot of my friends from that era are actually dead, you know. But we was in Woolwich and he caught me on a big screwdriver on me, and we was on our way to burgle an amusement arcade. We used to, when we was young, we used to burgle the amusement arcades, the fruit machines and get the money out of them. And he caught us bang to rights, and he took the screwdriver and he went, lads, come on, have a fucking day off. Look at where you're going. And he threw the fucking screwdriver down the drain and just let us go, you know. I mean, that was you got to say that was a decent fucking police officer. You know, he tried. You know, and then this because you get to know them, they get to know you. You know, he nicked me several times over the years. You know, and as I got older, you know, I've seen him a couple of times as I was getting older and getting into the more heavy sort of crime and all that. And he said to me, you're gonna end up dead. You know, we're gonna end up shooting you. We're gonna end up killing you. And I knew he meant it because they shot a lot of people in my area. Two people that I knew got shot dead robbing a security van, and another fella got shot dead by the police. You know, it was a spate of shootings like in the early 90s, when late 80s, early 90s, when police were fucking shooting people. And they told us, we will shoot you. We catch you robbing, we will shoot you. In other words, they tell you they've had permission to fucking shoot you. Because the armed robbery rate had gone through the roof. And Douglas Hurd, the Home Secretary at the time, I know this stuff because I researched it for my book. He basically created the squad, didn't he? They were called, you had SO19, which was the flying squad, but you had another unit called PT17, which was like the execution squad, we called them. And they were like your police marksmen that were trained fucking to bring the armed robbery rate down. He told them kill people because, and the reason I know this, one police officer, when the two fellas got shot dead in my area, there was like 20 armed police on the fucking roof, but one police officer done all the fucking shooting. He shot two dead, and when my other mate ran to the getaway car, he shot him in the fucking back. He still got the bullet lodged in his spine. So we knew when they told us, we will fucking kill you, we knew they fucking meant it. You know what I mean? It had a bit of an effect on us when we were young. Like that sort of era, that was when I sort of started curtailing the robberies a bit and got into the smuggling. I went into the smuggling game, you know.
Tell me about the smuggling.
Well, smuggling is the way I got into that was completely like yourself, the accidental journalist. I got into smuggling completely accidentally, and the way I got into that is I'd been arrested. I got a 5-year, 9-month sentence. That was for a conspiracy. It was a robbery, but I got done for conspiracy to burgle on a post office. Burglary. It was quite high value burglary at Marks and Spencer's in Bromley. I got 5-year, 9-month. Anyway, I was a little fucker in the prison system back then. I was young, rap round, you know, a lot of me mates from my era and everyone was all little shitbags. So I got moved around a lot. I ended up finishing off down in Kent. I ended up meeting someone in the prison who sort of took me under his wing, got very friendly with him. And when I come out, I went to work with him. Right. You know? Just one thing led to another. Again, being led like I was when I was young, just going with the fucking flow. It's like I said, you think you're in control when you're in a criminal lifestyle. You're not. Opportunity presents itself and you either go with it or you don't. And I found myself in the smuggling world doing things which I didn't really want to be doing. You know, I was a little inner city kid that had never fucking been anywhere. And all of a sudden I'm in Spain, Holland, Belgium, France, sometimes out there by myself, sat in hotels for days at a time, fucking homesick. You know, I'll be in one hand, I'll be going fucking hate the country and the establishment and everything it fucking stands for. But then as soon as I was on a ferry coming back to England and I see the white cliffs of Dover, I was like, fucking thank God I'm home. Do you know what I mean?
So, right. So this was like big deliveries of what I presume like heroin, coke.
No, never heroin. What we've done in the 90s, see the firm that I work with, this is remember when the football matches had all kicked back off again in Europe. The football matches had stopped because of the Heysel Stadium and all that in the 80s, didn't they? And then what happened is when the football matches first started up again, they used to send like, say if I don't know, say Man United were playing, for example, they'd send like 10 coach loads of Man United fans. They'd go through at a dog and they just wave them through because customs do not want to get 10 coach loads of pissed up English fans off a coach. And when you went to the stadium, what would happen then is when you come back and you go on them allocated coaches. You might not even go on the same coach. You just all go back as in a fleet, and that's how they've done it. And the beauty of that was it was a smuggler's paradise for small parcels, not big massive parcels. I mean, 20k a puff, 30k a puff. The profit is still fucking big.
Mm.
Well, it was still big for the
Oh,
firm I
yeah.
worked with, and I was still paid well. And what I would do is I would go out a few days before the football match, collect the parcel from either Holland, Belgium, France, wherever it was. Dutch would usually bring it down to the border. He's the person who I work with connection. I would meet him, take it, sit in an F1 hotel until the football match was on. Go to the football match, meet the person who's coming over, give it to him. He puts it on the coach. The worst thing that could happen is if they did get stopped, the coach coming back through on the pole, is they going to say, whose bag's this? Who's going to fucking own up to it?
Exactly.
So the worst thing that would happen is you lost the parcel. But we knew from experience, when everyone's pissed up on a coach and like, what fucking coming through at night, customs don't want to get fucking 200-300 fucking pissed up English fans off coaches and start searching them. They used to just wave the coaches through, So we've done that for 2 or 3 years, not just with the football matches. We've done it with day trippers as well, people coming over to the hypermarkets. This was the time of the hypermarkets when people going over to get the booze and get the tobacco and everything else, and so many people were doing it. It was impossible for fucking customs to search everyone, and it was exactly the same principle. Day trippers would come over because they're not going to a drug producing country. I mean, if you're going on a coast trip to somewhere like Holland, they're going to fucking search the coast.
Of course they
but
are.
If you're going on a coast trip from we used to have a hypermarket called City de Europe just outside of Boulogne, and used to get a coach trip go from Ashford in Kent, and it would go straight there, be there for 2 hours, and come straight back. And the whole purpose was the fucking booze runs. That's why this coach company put it on. But customs know that coach has only gone from England 4 hours before. It's only gone to a hypermarket in Boulogne. It's coming back. All people are going to have is a bit of fucking snout or a bit of booze or whatever else. But the same principle, I would go out a few days before, meet the day tripper at City de Europe. I would give him the bags with whatever was coming back, coke, bees, cannabis, whatever the consignment was, give it to them. They go on the coach, put it on the coach, exactly the same principle. If the coach gets stopped on the way back, who does this bag belong to? Who's going to fucking say it's mine? And do you know what? In the space of like about 3 years I was active doing that, we never lost one. Never lost one. And I must have done, I don't know. I try to think about this. I must have done a good 20 or 30 trips. Never lost one. Never lost one.
So when did it all start going wrong?
Well, it went wrong. We've done a couple of trips. I don't want to reveal too much because one of my books is called Smuggler's Roulette. I've wrote a book about the smuggling world in the 90s, and I don't want to reveal too much. I'm contractually obliged to Virgin to not reveal too much, but we've done a couple of trips on ribs across the channel, like people are doing now. People used to do it from Morocco, as you know, and whatever else on the Phantoms, and come straight across from Tangiers and that. I know people who's doing that, but we've done it twice on the across the channel, and the person we've done it with, he done it himself, and he done what we call jockey a load. It's like sometimes when you get the bigger consignments, different people. I mean, it has to be paid for. So, for example, if I wanted to bring, I've got someone in Holland who's got 100 kilo of puff, and that comes at the time it was about 650 quid a kilo or whatever. It's a lot of money. So you're talking, you need like 65 grand bag money. So if I ain't got that, I can come to you and say, Jack, have you got 20? And you and like different people will be involved with a load. Well, this person we were working with backdoored us, the pilot of the boat, and he got someone else to put a parcel on. So I met him I actually went out with him, and I gave him a parcel at Calais, and he was supposed to come straight back, but he didn't. What he done is he diverted and went somewhere else to meet someone else that was giving him something else. They was under observation. He got fucking nicked. That put us in a lot of debt. The person I was working with got cold feet and didn't want to go again by that method, which was always a crazy fucking method anyway. But that went bad. And then again, through desperation, I got people I'd met out there. I got involved with a firm who were out there. They were all organised syndicate out in France who were smuggling people at the time. They got involved in the the people smuggling, and because that was just sort of kicking off in the late 90s, and I got involved in that, and I didn't go into it as a willing participant. I don't make that to make excuses. I wouldn't smuggle people or anything. I'm not into that. I went into them. I was supposed to be smuggling a consignment of cannabis and a consignment of cigarettes, believe it or not. Cut a long story short, everything had been put in place to bring this parcel back, and something went wrong. And then they said, we've got another load. Can I arrange a driver? I arranged a driver, and it was 30 people. The driver didn't turn up on the day. So I took the lorry from northern Paris place called Vermars. I drove it from Vermars up to just outside of Boulogne. And as soon as I got there, boom, big operation. They all stormed me, and I got done for being a ringleader of people smuggling ring. The actual charge was knowingly concerned with the facilitation of illegal entry of illegal immigrants into the UK. I got done for 30 people, and I got the maximum that I could get, which was 10 years for that. I was illegally deported from France. I say that not with no malice, but the reality of it was my crime was committed in France. Mm-hmm. But because of the need for deterrent sentencing and everything else like that, what happened is British Customs came over to France under the guise of being interpreters with the French authorities, and said, we need to take you to hospital to check that you're fit to be interviewed. And what they'd done, as soon as I got in the vehicle, they drove me over into the control zone, because on the other side of France, once you're past the control, you're in UK territory. And they said, you're now in UK territory, and fucking deported me to England. And then 2 weeks later, I escaped. I took the prison officer hostage in the court and escaped from court, which was not a nice thing to do. No. But again, no one to do it, so I've done it because I was this big bad. No, I was just fucking damaged, and I think I was mentally fucking ill at the time. My life had taken me to a point where I got involved, gone from being this kid that nicked car stereos and was fucking scared of his own ghost, to being involved with organised crime fucking syndicates on the continent who were fucking bold, intents and purposes, dangerous fucking people, not people you fuck about with, to doing things I didn't really want to be doing, but felt I had to be doing them. Again, remember, started off the need to be accepted, and that need never left me. So when you're involved with these people, you find yourself doing things you don't really want to be doing. You're being used, and you sort of know it, but you go along with it, because when you're in it, it's hard to get out. And I felt like I was backed into a corner, and then when I was arrested, I knew I was in trouble, and it was like a final act of defiance. Right, fuck you. And I escaped. And that's why when Virgin brought my book out and called it Outlaw, How I Become Britain's Most Wanted Man, I never wanted that title, How I Become Britain's Most Wanted Man. They were just sensationalising. I wasn't the most wanted man like Kenny Noy or Raoul Moat or something like that. I never wanted that monarch. I wanted a more redemptive tone. My book is actually a book about redemption, but they said, oh, but it'll sell books or whatever else, and they put that on there. I was wanted. Yes, I was all over the news. Yes, I was in all the papers, do not approach and all this. But that wasn't a nice thing. That was only looking and thinking, yeah, look at it. It was a fucking horrible period. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice that night when I got back to, after I escaped, got back to Woolwich, and I went to someone's house where I felt safe. And I said, I've just escaped. And literally within 10 minutes of me telling him that, come up on the news, do not approach or whatever else, because, it was organised crime. But also I'd had, by this time in my life, I'd already had a conviction for firearms. I had a conviction for robbery, Section 18. I'd taken hostages to escape with quite an extreme method or whatever else. So I suppose in their eyes, I was fucking dangerous. In my eyes, I wasn't. I didn't feel like I was a threat or danger to anyone. But then I looked at the life, I'd lived. Fucking hell, if you'd have read about me, you'd have thought, oh, I don't want to go anywhere near him. And I think in some senses that's what I'd done. And I think a lot of violent criminals do and whatever else, and a lot of people have been involved in violence. It's about keeping people away. Because if we were to be brutally honest, inside we actually feel quite weak, quite fragile, quite soft. quite underdeveloped, quite childlike, quite immature. So it's a way to keep people away. If you can be the biggest, and like people who go to the gym and pump themselves up steroids and get all muscly and all that, and they're usually very soft, usually very gentle people, because it's about the exterior. You know what they say? It's like, I mean, I'm someone who's, I came into this world fighting, but I had to learn to fight. My life, and I become a fighter, as you know. I was a I was a boxer, an unlicensed fighter, and all that stuff. And I've done that stuff, but I had to do that to sort of like thinking my own fear and overcome that stuff. I had to learn that stuff. I wasn't that way initially, and I think that's what a lot of violence and whatever else. I think most people who behave that way, unless they're mentally ill, I mean, some people are mentally ill, they're just like that. A lot of people, they're not really that way. And you get behind that and scratch the surface a little bit. It's just getting beyond that, isn't it? It's,
it's a mask, it's a facade. We hide behind it. I think some people have said to me, you're really mentally ill. When I've been in it and been, you tapped, you are, but it's not. It's a way of masking in here, because we externalize, because the fear that we feel inside, and we're, it's tearing us up. We're externalizing that, and then so it's kind of the bully becoming the bully. So we're pushing it out, and we're using that as a facade. I find that most people that are raw in your face are actually the ones that are the most scared. It's the ones that are stood back, quiet.
Empty vessels make the most noise. It's not about the size of the man in the fight. It's about the size of the fight in the man. That's what they say. It's and there's more than one way. I've learned a new way to fight. I'm a peace-loving man. I'm not in violence or anything anymore. I've not had a violent incident in my life for quite a few years now, because I chose to get away from that, because I know what fuels it. I know what fuels it. It leads one way: jails, institutions, and death. And if you choose that lifestyle, they say, if, like Frankie Fraser used to say it beautifully, he used to say, if you live by the sword, expect the sword. And if you choose to live that life, bearing in mind, if you're not mentally ill, sooner or later you will be mentally ill. It will make you mentally fucking ill, because of all that goes with it. It's what I said about how we believe we're in control. When I escaped from prison and I took the prison officer hostage, I actually made a syringe and put it to his neck and took the whole boot room hostage to escape. I was probably at the most dangerous I'd ever been. I was like a rabid fucking animal. I was capable of anything in that era, because the lifestyle and everything and the life choices I'd made, and all the fucking hurt and pain, everything that goes with living that criminal lifestyle, would turn me into a fucking caveman. And I was mentally ill, no doubt about it. You didn't have to. They say, like, if you've got, I mean, I don't want to say religion or start spouting religion or anything like that, but I do have faith. I do have faith in my heart, because if you have a God in your heart, you have God in your eyes. And if you've got the devil in your fucking eye, you got the devil in your eyes. And I was soulless. My eyes were like two mince pies in the fucking snow. At the end of my criminality, I was a fucking lunatic. I was capable of absolutely anything. Absolutely anything. I'm not proud of that. Including, I don't want to say too much, and Paul, so I never killed anyone. I never, no. But someone, I could talk about this. I never done it. Someone offered me money to go, would you go and do? And I was quite willing to do it. I didn't. Thank God I didn't. But I was quite willing to. That's how mental and fucking, and how the lines have just become that fucking blurred. The moral compass of a child, I mean, quite a strict Irish Catholic mother, and being God-fearing and all that stuff, being completely fucking utterly soulless, capable of anything, capable of taking someone's life, fucking madness.
So what switched then?
Well, I say this, another one of my great mantras, none of the wisdom's mine, it's all borrowed, we go through life, like I
We all
said,
borrow wisdom,
everyone's
mate.
your teacher. And someone said to me once, conscience becomes a fierce pursuer. And that's right. It's like you can't transmit what you have got, Even people sometimes talk that, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, I've done this, I've done that. I look at them sometimes and I think, you didn't do fucking shit. You didn't do nothing. Because, you are a certain way if you've lived that. If you've been the real deal and you've lived that life, you will either end up one way. You either serving a life sentence, you either fucking in a mental hospital, or you're in the fucking ground, or you've reformed. And if you've reformed, you'll do like what I'm doing, what Joey done right in his book, what Terry Ellis does, what Martin Herbert done, what the Darren G does, and all these people, when they all talk a message of reform or whatever, because it's in their fucking heart, because they've lived it. They fucking lived it. You can't transmit what you haven't got. You go one way in this lifestyle. You go one fucking way. You either change or you fucking die. And if you change and you sort of transmit it. And I go back to that what I was saying, like conscience becoming a fierce pursuer. It hits you, bang. One day it hits you, and I say this, some people climb mountains. That shit don't impress me. Doesn't impress me one fucking bit. What impresses me more is people climbing from the gutter to the pavement and it's 12 poxy fucking inches. And what that means is the journey for me from head to heart. Finding your fucking spirit again, finding your soul. Stop living through your fucking head, trying to be something you're not, trying to live up to an image or trying to be, it's about finding you. It's about looking you in the fucking mirror, isn't it? It's about putting your head on the pillow each night and all that stuff. That's how it is for me. That's how it is for me. It's just something caught up with me and said, time to change. Time to try something different. I don't want to say, it comes from within. For me, like I say, faith played a big part, Faith was there when I was a kid. I started to pray and stuff like that. I didn't know what I was praying to. And I certainly don't want to preach to anyone, God is something and whatever. Like, it's in every single one of us. It's about your relationship with it. There's too many people preach fucking in this world that live a completely fucking different life. You know what I mean? If you've got goodness in you, you transmit goodness. You got badness in you. Can't transmit what you haven't fucking got.
No.
You know what I mean? Something saved me. That's what I'm trying to say. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And the reason I say that is things started to happen in my life brought about change, I don't say none of this stuff for effect. It's not about ego. I don't say it because I want to, like, I was the biggest, baddest man on the planet and all of a sudden I'm a fucking saint. That's not what my intention is. But where my crime and criminality took me was to be in a category A prisoner in a maximum security prison in fucking segregation units next to fucking serial killers with two psychiatrists sat in front of me saying one signature and we'd send you to Broadmoor. Because I'd been under investigation 4 times for violence while in prison. I'd been arrested in Dovegate in Uttoxeter. They sent me to they said I had a severe and dangerous personality. They wanted to send me to Whitemore, severe and dangerous personality unit. I refused to go. I went to therapeutic prison in Uttoxeter called Dovegate, which had just opened. I ended up getting arrested there for 2 Section 18s. I could have got lifed off. It could have gone any way. And I went back to Long Lartin and they put me back in segregation. Psychiatrist said he could send me Broadmoor, Just think about that for 1 second. Think about that for 1 second, the effect that had on me. I'd gone from being this frightened little fucking kid, scared of his own ghost, animal loving, love little animals, little birds in the trees, very soft natured, to being in segregation. Next door to me, I've got Bob Maulsley, who's been in segregation for nearly 40 years. I mean, he's a serial killer. He's killed 3 people in prison, On the other side of me, I've got another life. I've been in the block 30 odd years. And this is where my life took me, to a psychiatrist saying we can send you to Broadmoor, and actually really debating doing that, because they've sent me to a therapeutic prison. They think I'm a I'm a danger to the community, because this is when the severe and dangerous personality acts came in. I don't know if people remember, back in early 2000, they brought out legislation to say that people with severe and dangerous personalities and whatever else will not be released from prison. They will have to be treated before they're released and whatever else. And it was outlawed, and they brought in what's called the MAPA Acts, which is multi-agency public protection, when they release violent offenders, whatever else. But that's what they were actually talking about doing. So they was having a clean-up in the maximum security prisons. And I was in there at the time when they were doing this. And every single prisoner got assessed by psychology teams. We all had to be interviewed and cameraed, and then the video of the interview, they sent it away to fucking specialists who would come back and say, you've got a severe and dangerous personality or whatever, and you had to accept some form of treatment or you ain't fucking going nowhere. And there's still people in the system now who refuse it, who are there now. You know what I mean? They were still there now. So for me, I had to engage at some sense, but it went bad for me at Dovegate. Cut a long story short, I ended up going to Grendon, and I went there for 3.5 years. And that was a fucking big thing for me to do, because, you know, I'd been this criminal, whatever, who'd always been what you would call, well, what I considered staunch in the system, stood up to authority and everything else, and been a bit of a thorn in their sides, and really thought I was a fucking someone, to being able to find the strength in me to admit, you know what, it's all a fucking lie. It's all been an illusion. I'm just a damaged, fucked up, frightened fucking child that's just, his life's just gone to shit over the last 20 years. And all my life is curtailed. The sum total of my life is this. I'm sat in fucking segregation in a maximum security prison. This is where life's fucking took me. Do you know what I mean? This is why I say about the intervention, something helping me along the way. It was an officer called Cheryl. Now, I'd been on a one wing in Long Lartin previously to go into Dovegate. I was on a certain wing where I was having it with some of the Manchester, like who we spoke about earlier, you know. So we was all living that fuck the system, like whether. She came in the seg, and she took a liking to me, this Cheryl, because I think even though I could be a little bit bastard, cream rises to the top, and if you've got good in you, it will always come out somewhere. Even when, you know, I snuffed it out for a long time through the bad choices and the lifestyle I made, but there was still good in me, you know. No matter, even in my maddest fucking day, I wouldn't walk past and see someone suffering. I'd always stop and give someone a few quid, or if I see someone being bullied, I always have to say something. You know, there's still good in me. And she saw that. She come down to segregation, and she had some clout in this jail because she'd worked there for like 20 odd years, this Cheryl. And she come down to segregation, and she said to me, Ray, if I get you back on the wing, because they was keeping me in segregation now. Now I've still got over 6 years left to serve, and they weren't putting me back on the wing. You know, two Section 18s with a honey jar, one fella. I'm not proud of it. I gave him 20-something stitches in his head. You know, whether he deserved it or not, it's neither in nor there. But they kept me in. They wanted to keep me in segregation, so I would have been in there a long time. When you're in the segregation, the maximum security prison, it's called a special care and control unit. It's a little bit more than a seg. It's like, it's not an SSU, but what it is, it's the end of the fucking road. It's like, what are we going to do with you? Now you go one way from there. When you're in a maximum security prison and you're in a segregation unit, maximum security prison, you go one way. You either keep your nut down and they put you back on the wing, or if they think you're a danger to yourself, others, or them, you're going to the Special Hospitals Act. You're going to Broadmoor, Rampton, somewhere like that for an in-depth psychiatric assessment or whatever. That's the way you're going. Now, she saved me. She came down to Seg, Cheryl, and she went to me, if I get you back on normal location, are you going to behave yourself? And I said to her, Cheryl, get me back on normal location. You know, I said, I promise I'm going to behave myself. You know, I didn't know if I could trust myself to say this at the time, but I said, I'm going to behave myself. Now, the best thing that happened to me is they put me on another wing. They put me on A wing in Long Lartin. Now, when I got onto A wing, you know, and I mentioned these people by name, not to fucking name drop, but just to say how fucking grateful and in debt I am to these people. You know, Kevin Lane, Rookie Lee, Martin Valentine, Lenny Kempley, who's sadly no longer with us, he actually got murdered when he got out Long Lartin after serving 18 years. He got murdered within six weeks of being released. You know, after serving 18 years as a category A, you know, fucking heartbreaking. No, Ollie, you know, these people, good fucking people. I said this in my last interview that I'd done for Cowing TV. This you put me around fuckwits, I'll behave like fuck it because of the need to belong, the need to be accepted. Put me around good people. Strangely enough, it brings the best out of me. And I'm not saying these people weren't good people I was around. They were, but they just brought out the worst in me. But when I got onto A-Wing, you know, these were such proper, good, decent, level-headed people. That side of me out, you know, and I felt like I could be just me, no threat to anyone, just try and keep my nut down. And then the opportunity came up to go to Grendon. Now, what I'd heard about Grendon, obviously, it's full of nonsense, full of wrong uns, full of grasses, all that stuff. We know that. Yes, there are them people there. I'm not going to deny that for a second.
No.
But what happened is because Dovegate had opened, which was a new therapeutic prison, the numbers had gone right down in Grendon. There was no one there. And because of the severe and dangerous personality, the severe and dangerous personality acts and the dangerous prisoners thing that they brought in, they knew they had to start sending normal prisoners there. I say normal, I mean what is normal, but they were sending armed robbers, just violent, normal run-of-the-mill people who are murderers, or even fucking people who are doing sentences for aggravated burglary, whatever. Send them there. See if this therapy works for them too. Now, there was a lot of objection, obviously, from the staff of Grendon at first, because a lot of us that went there had long checked histories in the prison system of violence, all staffs, escaping and real. So they was quite anti. But I thought, well, I've got to do something. And I actually remember one morning I went up to Kevin Lane, God bless him, you know, and, you know, I don't know if you know who Kevin Lane is. Kevin,
I know Kevin.
we served over 20 years of a life sentence for a crime he fucking didn't commit. The worst fucking miscarriage of justice ever. And he spent like nearly 20 years, I mean, 16 years there. He was a high-risk category A prisoner. He's had the worst possible conditions. He's been through, his story's horrific, you know, but a very lovely, lovely man. And I went to Kevin one morning. I said, Kev, I'm thinking about going to this Grendon. What do you think? Now, this is someone who you look up to and you think, proper, sensible fella. Now, if he'd have turned around to me that day and said to me, don't go there, it's full of fucking wrong uns. Do you know what? I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have gone. He turned around to me that day and he said to me, it's got to be fucking better than here, isn't it? You know? And that's why I went. That's why I went. And it was the best move I ever done. Wasn't easy, but what was good, two lifers from Long Lartin came with me, which was a fella called Darren who was doing a 20 rec, and a fellow I knew quite well from Peckham called Richie. He was doing a 25 rec, and both of them had made the decision to go as well. So I went with them two, and I knew them two were normal, staunch prisoners. So I was geared up for the eventuality. I thought, oh, well, if there's wrong and all that there, we just won't go anywhere fucking near them and whatever. And then when I got there, Razor Smith was there, and you know, Razor, most lovely man and most staunchest prisoner you'll ever come across. You know, I was with Razor in Highdown in the early 90s when he was serving 25 years. Now he was doing 11 life sentences, all for armed robberies. He got the 2 strike rules and whatever. He got 11 life sentences plus a consecutive 20 odd years or something. And so Razor was there as well. So immediately I was round my own. But something had changed. Thank God. Myself, Richie, Darren and Razor, another fella, Freddie Lunn and John Martindale, 6 of us all linked up as a crew. And you know what? We were all fucking serious about it. We were all serious about it. Razor had recently today, I know he won't mind me saying, he'd lost his precious son. His son had died. I think that had made Razor have a look at his life. You know, up to that point, he'd already served like 25 years of his life behind bars. And was it fucking worth it? And for the first time ever, I was able to sit down with another human being and actually admit, it's all been a game. It's all been a fucking show. What was it all about? What is it? And, you know, all of a sudden, it's like, a weight was fucking lifted off me. And then doing the therapy for 3.5 years, the soul searching and doing the education, all that stuff, it's a long fucking process, and it's a lifetime process. It's never, so they say, true success is not a destination. It's a journey. And that's how it is. It's like everything now is a journey of discovery. It's like the whole therapeutic journey that I've done. It's an ongoing fucking process. I've made mistakes along the way and paid some more fucking heavy prices, as you know. You know, but since when I did eventually get released in 2000 and just middle of 2007, I got released. I actually stayed out of trouble for years and didn't commit any crime, no nothing. But I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But yeah, I did have a period where I had a bit of a breakdown and did reoffend. But I sort of got an excuse for that. You know, I was diagnosed as being bipolar at the time, you know, and I was actually having a manic episode. But again, that I attribute a lot of that down to scars and damage of living that fucking lifestyle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you think that, because I've been speaking to people like Terry Ellis, and
lovely man, great man, Terry.
Absolutely lovely man.
Genuine.
Yeah, very. And he's going to come on in a few months and talk about his stuff. But
brilliant.
The reason that I think because I couldn't read all right when I was younger. There was no such thing as dyslexia. So I was seen as a naughty kid. So I was sent to a school for naughty children that was massed as a special school.
Oh.
So when I started looking at, in my earlier days, at finding some sort of piece I learned to read and write at Her Majesty's pleasure, and I always said I'd be fucking dangerous.
Commend you for that. I commend you for that. And
it took me 20 odd years. I mean, I didn't write my first solo book until 2015, after I got out of hospital and changed my life around. And the conversation that I had with Terry is that I think that the system is stacked up against prisoners. You get in there, there's only so many places for work, so many places for education. So you get into people that are going in, and then they've got a good education and want to do a degree, and then there's a certain amount of box ticking that needs to be done by the prison. So these prisoners then take that, and then they get the thing where actually, when the people actually do need, people like me, people like Terry, people like you, actually need to get into education, it's difficult, and it's set up against us.
Well, I don't truly believe. Now, I'm not going to detract from the fact there are some great people in prison who do believe in reform. But in general, does the Conservative government, or do they believe in reform? If they did, they would invest more heavily in it. And it's because the stats are not good, for most people that do come out of prison, most go on to reoffend. But you have to ask yourself why. And also you have to look at crime and what it is. Crime in itself is a fucking industry. If you took all crime out of society would break down. Think of all the trades and professions and everything else that go along with crime and everything else. And it's become an industry now, the privatization of prisons and everything else. It's about profit. It's about detracting as well from those at the top. Society functions like this. It's the man at the top with the most telling the man at the bottom with the least to take less. So all the time we can focus on, look at the crime pandemic and everything, we're not focusing on what's really happening. Greed, capitalism, and all these things that are creating such a gulf between those haves to those have-nots. And what you're creating, young people are not fucking stupid. They're not stupid, They're being priced out of the property market and everything. And a lot of them are feeling like they have no fucking alternative but to take a desperate lifestyle, because they can't even afford to fucking leave home. And they know they're fucked from the minute they leave school. Not saying for everyone, but if you don't have let's have a look at it. If you don't have a bank of mum and dad, how the fuck are you going to get a flat? How the fuck are you going to get a flat? You know, I run a successful business now today, as you know. You know, I've got my own scaffold company where I've gone from being a fuckwit, scraping round at the end of my criminality, getting fivers and tenors and doing crazy, desperate fucking acts, to having a successful company, to being a published author and all these things, you know. And I still find it fucking hard. And, you know, I've got a good income, you know what I mean? I still find it hard to pay my fucking bills. And I think if I wasn't with my partner, would I be able to afford to go and have my own home or whatever? I certainly wouldn't be able to afford to buy one at the moment. And you think, how do these youngsters, you know, how are they going to fucking do it, you know?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you've got you're in for a moderate sentence. All you need to get out is a postcode.
Yeah.
And you've gone in broken, and you're coming out broken, and you're getting put straight back into those circumstances that you got put in there for in the first place.
Nothing changes.
So it's that vicious circle, you know what I mean? And it's just you're set up to fail, because prison's about numbers.
It's about putting bums on seats.
It is about bums on seats. How many people in a cell? You know, whether it's 8 to 10 or, you know.
Well, it's disgusting. I mean, the treatment of prisoners. You know, I'm not. You know, some people need to be in prison. You know, there was a period in my life when I needed to be in prison. You know, I'm not a victim of anyone. I'm a victim of circumstance, but a victim of myself and the bad choices I made. You know, no one put me there. Let's get that right. You know, no one forced me to do the things I've done. I chose to do them. You know, I take full responsibility for that. But you know, I look at the state of it now, the prison system. I saw the changes. You know, my prison career spanned like 30 years. You know, so I look at it now, and in the Geneva Convention, you know, the Prisoners of War Act, every man is supposed to have a certain amount of fucking space, living space, or whatever. And there's 3-4 men in a cell in Scrubs that are designed for like 2 men, and they're locked up for 23 hours a day. And whereas it's fucking inhumane. With a toilet, you have to shit in front of someone, eat your dinner and everything else. What is that going to teach someone about self-respect and whatever else? They think it's the hardness or whatever is going to make people fucking change. No, that hardness makes people more bitter, more angry, more fucking twisted, and makes them more fucking dangerous. It takes a frightened, timid child like myself and turned me into a dangerous fucking criminal. That's what it done for me. That's what it done for me. So what's it fucking doing for them? You know, you treat people with humanity, you end up with a human. You know, you treat people with contempt, you end up with a contemptuous person, you know, and you know, it's fucking terrible. That's why I don't believe they believe in reform. If they did, they would invest. And let's get it right. The one thing I can say about prison and my prison career, probably 80% of the people I met in prison didn't need to fucking be there. No. You know, prison should be for the worst, for the people that really need to get. I mean, if you don't do a crime that warrants a sentence of over, say, 3 years, you don't need to fucking be in prison. There's alternatives that they could use. 50-60% of people in prison should be in fucking rehabs. But there ain't no rehabs anymore. They've closed them all. The only people who can go to rehabs now is people who can afford to go privately or got private insurance, because it's another way they're trying to clip it, the NHS and everything else. It's the same with the treatment of like addictions and whatever else. They're not interested. There used to be 16 rehabs in Bournemouth. There's 2 now because there's no funding.
They're failing.
One can go anymore.
They're failing.
No one can go anymore. So my point is this. This is why I say it's an industry, because all these people, in the long run, wouldn't it be cheaper to put these people into rehabs and whatever else and see if that benefits them and whatever else, rather than them coming out and continue to offend and continue to offend and continue to offend? And when they say, you know, like for each prisoner, especially each prisoner in a high security prison, do you know, they say it's, I forget what the figure is, but when I was in there, it was about £3,000 a week per prisoner. That's how much it costs to run that fucking jail. You know, well, where's the money going? Because we never fucking saw any benefits of it in terms of rehabilitation or courses or anything.
Not even the
We
food
didn't see
taxes,
any
that
of it.
shit now.
You know, we didn't see any of it. Why didn't they say, right, I tell you what we'd do, rather than spend £3,000 a week on them doing that, let's put them in some, offer them all fucking therapy that costs 1,500 quid a week or whatever, if they genuinely believed in reform, but they don't. Most people in prison want to change. Most people in prison are not genuinely bad. You know, even those that are committed, that are sometimes convicted of the most horrific, heinous acts or whatever else, a lot of them are mentally ill. I believe that a lot of them are mentally ill and they need fucking treatment or whatever else. And you know, but a lot of people in prison don't need to fucking be there. And a lot of people in prison do want to change. They really do. But you know, they just don't have that. They don't have enough desire. They don't have, you know, I call it, you know, you say about God, I call it GOAD, gift of desperation. If you're desperate enough, you'll seek change, you know. That's why I say never deny someone their rock bottom. You know, sympathy
Exactly.
kills people. Yes, if someone's down and they're down or whatever, you know, try and help them up, but don't deny them. Because, you know, I hit the floor hard. And sometimes the harder the fall, the higher the bounce, you know. When you're down there, you learn a thing or two. You don't learn a lot when the going's good. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
It is difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, I'm no stranger to the rehab system, you know, and I'm no stranger to the 12-step pro. I work a 12-step program every day.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
You know, I see God as, you know, I do have a faith in God, and that is part of me. That's part of my journey. You know, same as people like Terry Ellis. You know, we don't have God in our life, but for me, that God to start with was good orderly direction, and I had to look at that. You know, admitting that you've got a problem, and then, you know, admitting to God you've got a problem, because you know it's a spiritual disease as well. But then again, so is some of the crimes that we get into. It gets into your soul, it gets into your spirit, and it's a spiritual disease. The lies taint us and poison us. The life taints us and poison us, and we become, like you said earlier, people that we're not, and we start to mimic what we might see on TV. We start to wear these masks, and people see these masks and they think that it's us. But actually, deep down, you know, we might be appearing as this good, strong person, but deep down, we're screaming, and it is so hard. You know, and anybody that's on that journey, you know, I've seen men that have done long sentences that are just institutionalized, and you can see it. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's gone out their eyes. You know, it's that shuffle. It's that walk. You know.
I was very close to it. And you will understand this then, and I'll speak about this from like my sort of psychological trainer, where it was Carl Jung deemed like alcoholism, drug addiction, criminality, all these disorders. He called them spiritual disorders. Like he was the first to call it what was called a psychospiritual-somatic disorder. And he said that what is needed for any spiritual disorder is a spiritual solution, be it however you find it. That could be God or whatever else, but it needs what's called an awakening of the spirit, or a spiritual awakening. And basically, that is what we're talking in a nutshell. Be it reform, be it getting off of drugs, be it getting off of drink, it's all boils down to the same thing: an awakening of the spirit, getting away from self, which is the mind, and getting into the soul and being led by the fucking heart. You know, I know from like recovery and stuff like that, they talk about God being within and whatever else. So Jesus said it most beautifully. And I don't want to preach to anyone, but Jesus said it most beautifully. He said to Peter, St. Peter, he said, Peter, upon you I build my church, you are my rock. What he meant by that statement was Get away from organised religion, get away from going to church and all the hypocrisy and all that stuff. What he meant is my church is within you. That's what he meant. Be it you were believing Jesus, God, whatever. It doesn't matter what you believe in, but the statement was that it is within you, and it's within every single person. You know, everyone does this, and really we should be doing this. And that's where the spirit is, you know, and for me, that is how it is, you know. Insane means unwhole. It means being unwhole. That's basically what it means. It's insane. Actually, it comes from a Latin word, insanitum, which means unwhole. So to be sane means being whole, you know, and being, and if you're not whole, it's because you're denying what's inside. Do you know what I mean? You know, I believe, my own personal belief, to be a little bit spiritual, because I am quite spiritual, is, you know, we're only on this earth for a short time, and we're only here in preparation for something else. You know, and you can either go through this whole life in fucking darkness, or you can go through this life at some point. I love this statement. You know, we all get two lives. The second one begins when we recognize that we only truly get one. You know, and I think some of us are flawed and some of us are cracked. And the reason why is so that the light can get in. And eventually it fucking gets in, and and you can't deny it anymore, that there's something better in this world. There's something better in this fucking universe than what we have to go through here. Do you know what I mean? It fills me with fucking with happiness. I think, you know, okay, I made a terrible fucking mess the first part of my life, but it all meant something. Nothing is wasted and nothing happens by accident. You know what I mean? We might think it does, but it doesn't. It's all designed to get us to a point in life where we can go, I sort of can make sense of it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
It's hope, really, isn't it? At the end of the day, we didn't have hope. Hope escaped us, or whatever. But you know, now we have hope. There is an alternative to the life that we led. You know, one of the reasons I started doing this and started writing and became an accidental journalist was because I found it cathartic. I found it easier to relate to other people through my own story. And you know, it's the way I deal with, you know, not that I like talking about myself, but I you know, I like to be able to empathize, and to do that, I need to find something that I can build on, you know, and attach to. So
I get that, because they say the wisest out there say faith without works is dead. That's what they say. And if you want to truly have faith, personal recovery, personal rehabilitation, all these sort of things, it's not in the head, it's in the feet, it's in what we do, it's in the action we put in. And it's like when you talk, you give something back, or you draw from your own past experience to try and benefit others. You know, you can shoot the messenger, you know, love me, hate me, you can shoot the messenger, but you can't shoot the fucking message.
Exactly.
Makes sense? And it's the same for you. It's the same for you. Can't shoot the messenger. And they say if you want to truly change, it's like self-esteem. Self-esteem's a massive thing. You know, a lot of people get involved in crime, criminality and whatever, because they don't value themselves. A lot of people take drugs and drink. They don't value themselves. They have no sense of self-worth or self-esteem, be it through their upbringing, be it through their life experiences, or whatever. I know that's how it was for me. But if you want to get self-esteem, then do fucking esteemable things. For me, that involved, I was completely fucking uneducated when I left school. So I wasn't best placed to go on any real path apart from a fucking criminal one anyway, if the truth be known. You know, I could have made choices and gone to college and all this stuff, but I didn't know how to. And when I was in prison, I was one of the fortunate ones. I did, by doing therapy and by actually getting, I was got funded to do a degree because of the different rehabilitation work I was putting in. I was actually, when I was in Grendon, I started a group with a couple of other lads called Breaking the Chain, and it was like a to sort of like talk about our own drug experiences and everything else to try and benefit prisoners in there that had had them problems as well as whatever else. And we used to go to schools and give talks where I used to go out of a prison officer. And I'd done it because I wanted to do it. And by doing that, one thing led to another. And what happened is I was actually funded to do a degree by a charity called the Hardman Trust. They said, why don't you get a degree where you can get the qualifications to actually get, and, you know, and I'd done a degree in psychology. And I was like, wow. Up until that point in my life, I'd never even really wrote a letter. And I'll say this again, not through ego, but because we've all got a story and we're all fucking capable of it. The only person who will stop you is you. I went on to write my autobiography because Razor said to me, you should write your autobiography. You've got a fascinating story. I said, my fucking story. But he said, you've got a fascinating story. When I wrote my autobiography, I wrote it thinking, well, no one will ever publish it or whatever else. And as you know, I was, it went to one publisher. He read it and said, this has to go to a major publisher. And it went to Virgin. And Virgin, Random House, are the biggest publishing company in the world. Virgin own Penguin, Macmillan, Collins, Edbury Publishing. Random House owns them fucking all. They're worldwide publishing, biggest publishing company in the world. They signed me, Virgin. So I've gone from being this little fucking shitty fucking delinquent whereas to being like, fucking hell, I'm being published by Virgin. I always couldn't believe it. And I couldn't handle it at the time. I remember I sat in the Virgin HQ in 2013. I was sat in the Virgin HQ, which is in London, Vauxhall Bridge. And I was sat in there with an editorial director and a fucking team of people that were working on my book, editing and whatever else. And I had Will Self off the telly. Will Self actually negotiated my deal and everything else. And I'm sat there and I just, that same feeling hit me again. I don't belong. I don't, you know, that fucking self-doubt, self-belief, because I hadn't matured enough in myself to be able to deal with success. And it's like you build a stack of cards and then you fucking smash it all down again. It's called sabotage because you don't believe you're worth it. You haven't learned the skills to look the world in the eye and go, you know what? It's the best I can do. You know, I wasn't there then. And that's why I went off the rails a bit at that time, as you know. Since then, 7 years later, I'm a lot more mature and a lot more able to deal with the potential successes that may or may not come of having another 2 books released by Virgin next year. Yeah. And actually feeling like, you know what, I deserve it. I worked fucking hard for it.
Of course you have. Of course you do.
I don't drink. I don't take drugs. I haven't done for a number of years. I don't get involved in crime, criminality. You know, I'm genuine. What I say is what I fucking do. I get up, I go to work each day. I work fucking hard. I pay my taxes. I employ people. I try to be nice to people. I try to make a difference. And if I'm asked to do something like this by someone like yourself, I do it because I feel like it's my fucking duty to do it. Because what was freely given to me, people who have helped me along the fucking way. You know, I didn't just wake up one morning and change. A lot of people, a lot of fucking effort into me. It's the least I can do to pay back. And it's also a penance as well, really, for the victims that I fucking created along the way. And there's been hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking hundreds. You know, and I can't run around and say fucking sorry to them all.
Well, no. But that,
you know?
that comes down to making an amends to the people that you can, you know, without injuring them or others. You know, that's what we need to do. For me, this is, I won't call this penance because it's not. I mean, what you're talking about, the self-sabotage, is something that has been prevalent in my life for such a long time, and it's when you get in that it's vicious and you pull yourself into it, and you know, self-sabotage, things start going good and then you start pulling yourself down and thinking, I'm not good enough, I don't think I can do this, I can't do this, blah blah, you know, and then you pull yourself down and you sabotage your projects. You know, I wrote my first book, it sold a couple of copies. Second book sold a few copies. The latest book's doing all right, but even when I was doing that, I had the feelings of, I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I'm not good enough for this. And I had a bit of a breakdown when it came to it. And, you know, I had to take quite some time off to look at myself. I do go to church when I'm allowed to. but it's like you said earlier, it's about surrounding yourself with light. I used to surround myself with dickheads, so if I'm going to hang around with dickheads, I'm going to be a dickhead. If I'm going to hang around with people that are going to drag me down, I'm going to drag myself down. There are times when, with good people, I've pulled myself down because that's almost kind of second nature for us. And we do it no matter how successful we get. I mean, I've got 3 books out, and I've consulted, and I'm doing this, and I'm not going to lie, it is a bit of an ego boost. I started this as a way to find comfort in talking to people and getting other people's stories across, because I felt that I was losing my voice, and I needed to put that in. And it's nice to be able to do it, and people are like, "Oh, we love this," and people like yourself are coming on, and kind enough to share your stories and being kind about it. There are so many times when I've got close to just pulling the plug on it, because that would be so easy. Self-sabotage,
It's what's familiar, isn't it?
it is.
It's what's familiar sometimes, but it's I commend you, and it's something about us. It doesn't matter what. I don't know what it is about people who have got a tendency to sabotage. It doesn't matter how many people say to us you're doing well. One person says you're doing bad, and it's like we home in on that, don't we? And that's why this is what I mean about affirmation. For me, it's about what messages I send myself. It's about the messages I give myself that matter, and it's my todays determine my tomorrows. When I go to bed each night, now I'm not one of these people who does gratitude lists or anything like this, but I harness, gratitude is an attitude, and if you're I'm very grateful for my life today. I've built a life worth fucking living, and I don't want to fucking lose it.
No,
You know what I mean? So I put the action in so I won't fucking lose it. You know what I mean? And I have that, like I say, that faith that I won't fucking lose it. It'll be okay as long as I'm okay. My mate used to say that to me. He said, it'll be okay as long as you're okay. And that means nothing grants us immunity from the storm, does it? But oops, our battery's running low. I don't know what's happened there. I don't know if I've it's like religious people say it, don't they? Religion, it won't protect you from the storm, but it protect you while you're in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like Jesus said, really, isn't it? That don't look at the storm, look at me, because I am the storm. And that's how I've found myself fighting, because having to look to God when I've always looked at myself or looked to other people, and it's not going right. But when I've looked at actually, God and that good orderly direction, that's when things have started going right. I'm an incredibly blessed man. I've done a lot of things to a lot of people, to hurt a lot of people like yourself. I haven't done half the time that you've done in prison. I'm not even gonna begin on that. But it's like there's always those trolls out there. There are always people that will try and drag you, especially when you start getting a bit of success like you've got, like I'm now starting to get. And there's always those people that will bring that negativity into it, and it's difficult. It can be difficult to like deal with that. But at the end of the day, what you say about gratitude, I am very, very grateful and blessed for what I've got. I met my wife when I was homeless, and I walked into a food bank to get a meal, and she served me. Offered to buy me a sandwich, and I never fucking went home, really. But it's like
So it wasn't an accident, was it? God works through people. Don't forget
exactly. And I don't owe a lot to God, but I owe a lot to my wife, because she's brought me to the point where now I'm comfortable with myself.
Brilliant.
She was my guardian angel when I needed it. I'm very lucky to have kids that are supportive, and a wife that is supportive, that You know, she bought me the t-shirt and the mug, you know, because she you know, she's watched some of these and she believes in what I'm doing. And there are people out there that believe in what I'm doing. But if we don't believe in what we're doing, like you say, we're not going to be able to put it across.
No, but they say when when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You know, that's been my experience. You know, there've been many people in my life that have come in my life that I wasn't ready to listen, but I heard something along the way, and it stayed with me. So a lot of wisdom I've got has come from some of the fucking great teachers I've had along the way. I believe that God works through people, and he can work through anyone. You know, he's a terrible habit of taking complete and utter fucking nobodies and turning them into somebodies. And when you get the trolls and people like this, you know, it's, don't be disheartened. It's the ultimate show of weakness. If you need you know, a big person will only ever one second, Jack, just
it's all right, mate.
dog out. Big people will only ever look down on someone to help them up.
Yeah.
The smallest people will always need to stand on someone's head to appear taller. It's the ultimate sign of weakness. You know, I sometimes see that when I see comments when I've done shares, and I sometimes think, how unhappy must you be in life that you have to sit there and watch a YouTube video just to make disrespectful comments? I think, how unhappy must you be in life, you know? And I just think, you know, I wouldn't want your life or your misery, because I've been there. You know, if you're a good person, you will see good in others. If you're a bad person, you will only ever see the bad, you know, and it's you that suffers, not me. Resentment is allowing others to live in your head rent free. Yeah. And if you do that, in time, it becomes self-resentment, or whatever. You know, I pity these people because, you know, they're obviously very, very fucking unhappy. You know, very unhappy. And I see it for what it is. It's like people who make disrespectful comments or say things or whatever. You know, deal with your own fucking hurt. Because the problem is not, if someone makes a disrespectful comment to me, the problem is not in me. The problem is in you. You know, it's like your mirror. What you're throwing out at someone, what you're really doing is throwing it at yourself. You know, so if I call you this and that, I'm calling myself that. Everyone mirrors. You know, if you see good in someone, you're seeing good in yourself. You know, it's like if you spot it, you've got it. That's what they say. So if you see something, you think, oh, he's a bit whatever. Well, that's probably because you are. But if you see someone and think, well, he's trying to make a fucking difference, he's trying to change, or he's trying to whatever, then fucking fair play to you. I've had some lovely comments, but I've had some comments complete and utter fucking wankers, like fake accounts and whatever. And you look at them and you think, well, you know, I know who I am today. If you need to sit there behind a fake account, acting fucking tough, making snide fucking comments, that tells me everything I need to know about you as a person. And it tells anyone else who sees that everything they need to know about you as a person. Yeah. Pretty sad. And you go in one way. You know, it's like, I don't get angry with people to sense now. Do you know why? Like Plato said it. He said, if you want to, he said, well, just stand on a bridge long enough and all these people will come floating past. Because all you know, if it's like in that life, the way I was living, it was only ever going to go one way. It was never going to end up successful. There was never going to be any happiness. There was never going to be any joy. There was never going to be anything fucking, nothing good was going to come out of my life till I decided I wanted to change. And my experience is this. If someone, remember I said about you can't transmit when you got something you ain't got, the proof is in the fucking pudding. You know, I've gone from being in fucking jails, unhappy, miserable, fucking running around, keeping up, to having a beautiful partner, having a beautiful relationship with my own children, a beautiful stepdaughter, another stepdaughter, and a business, a published author. You know, I've got the privilege to be able to do things like this today. I'm free. I don't feel the need to fill my head with drugs or drink or whatever, because I'm at peace. I'm happy. I'm fucking happy, you know, and I never thought I would be. No. And by being happy, I don't need to stand anyone's. I don't need to fucking put anyone down or drag it. I love seeing people get success. I love seeing people go out and work hard. Like, you know, no one can, you know, I've got a good life. You know, I've got, you know, I went out recently, I bought, I don't say this for ego again, I always wanted a M6 convertible BMW. I love them. I went and fucking bought one. I bought my partner a brand new Q5 Audi and whatever else. You know, these are, you know, high value items. I'm not giving it the lot. You know, it's not about money, but I've worked hard to get the things I've got. Some people see that and go, they think someone just come put it outside your fucking door. They don't see the pain, the toil and sacrifice, getting up at 5:30 in the morning, working 6-7 days a week. Sometimes I don't get home till 8-9 o'clock at night. I work my fucking bollocks off to get the little nice little things in life I've got. And it's okay to have them, because I can have the nice things and still be humble. Because, and what I mean by that is, if you took them all away tomorrow, it doesn't matter, because I don't get my happiness through them things.
No.
It's a sense of achievement and a sense of reward. And it's like when I release my next books, whether they do well or they don't, it doesn't matter. I fucking achieved it. I fucking done it.
Exactly.
I done it. So anyone who don't like that, any trolls or whatever else, go out and fucking do it yourself. If you hate someone else for doing it, do it your fucking self.
Exactly.
Do it yourself. And that's what I say to you, Jack. It's like everything you've achieved, well fucking done you. Well done you. Because no one fucking done it for you, mate.
No.
No one done it for you.
No. And that's the thing about it. You know, I mean, I'll look at the time that I've lost. You know, look at the time that you've lost.
16 and a half years I spent.
Exactly. I didn't lose nowhere near that. But I not through prison anyway, but you know, I lost it in a different way. I lost it to myself. But you know, I know that I've got to think of the right words here, but I've been around people that have promised me the world to help me get this, you know, to do this, to do that. And I've been a sort of old school beliefs. I've believed them and have talked nothing but shit.
Yeah.
And it's only when the times that I have stepped out in fear that I've achieved something with the first book, with the second book that I still get crap for, you know, even though it hasn't, you know, it sold out in 2016, and you know, I'm looking at getting the money together to put another, you know, a second edition out. You know, I still get the crap from it because you know I step up for people that don't have a voice, and my passion is to help people that have been stuck in human trafficking and telling their stories, and that's what the second book was about.
Yeah,
and
very worthwhile cause.
Get banned from Facebook. I've been threatened. I've been snubbed. I've had, you know, accounts on closed down on, you know, and I've had to fight for them back. And it's been a difficult run. And you know, being, I'm not bipolar, and I have mental health issues. You know, being that way, it's dragged me down, and then I've stayed down and not come back up for a long time. So then people have then won, or started to win, and it's only when I stepped out in faith to do this, to start this podcast, when I started it as Shed X, that I started getting the faith in myself, and I started getting some of that self-respect back, some of that self-worth back, because it's you know, this gives me the ability to share my life and
well, you'll reach the right people. Like I say, the right student will the teacher will appear when the student is ready. You'll reach the right people, and it's like when you know about when the meeting started, when like the 12-step meeting started, AA and things like that. Like when Bill first started it, Bill was running around like a lunatic trying to clean everyone up, and he had no success with anyone. And he went back to Dr. Silkworth, who had helped him in the hospital, and he said to Dr. Silkworth, "I'm having no success. No one is staying sober." He said, "Yes, they are, Bill. You are." And that story goes on to, like, in Cleveland, the second group in Cleveland in AA, and I know a bit about the history of it. There was this fellow who started a meeting there, and he sat there by himself for a year. No one turned up. And he
No.
sat there by himself for a year. And then after a year or so, one other person turned up, and then another, and then another. And now, and Cleveland's got the second biggest AA in the world, like,
Yeah.
and it all stemmed from that one fella sitting there for a fucking year. There's a message in everything. If you're awake, you will see it for what it fucking is. I mean, I do this sort of stuff. It's an honor. I don't talk about the charity and all that sort of stuff that I'm involved in. I give to, you know, because those who pray in public have received their reward. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good I do that I don't fucking shout from the rooftops about. I'm not one of them people because I don't fucking need to. I do it for fucking me, and I do it to help others. You know what I mean? I get the greatest rewards there, and that's why I say about a few material things that I've managed to get is. It's not about the material world. It really isn't, because at the end of the day, we come in our birthday suit and we go out in our fucking birthday suit. We all go out the same fucking way. And it's what, for me, it's what we have in here that counts, you know. Bob Marley, you know, I love, you know, because I like quotes and phrases from people. I think Bob Marley once was asked by a journalist in Australia. He said, "Are you a wealthy man?" He said, "What do you mean a wealthy man?" He said, "Are you a rich man?" He said, "What do you mean by rich?" He said, "Well, do you have a lot of possessions?" And he looked at the journalist, genuinely shocked, and he went, "Possessions make you rich?" He went, "I'm not that sort of rich man." He says, "My richness is life," you know, and that was Bob Marley, you know, God bless his soul. And all these different, you know, if you're awake, you see things and hear things what they are, and it's about implementing them, take them into your own life. If you read something that's, you know, you are what you put in, you know, the half glass, half empty, half full. If you put goodness in, goodness will prevail, you know. And it's like, if you know, the old, you know, when you used to watch the old kung fu films as a kid, and you used to have the old master and you had the glass full of water, and he used to keep pouring, and he used to spill out and he used to keep spilling and keep spilling and keep spilling, and then he used to stop him and he tipped the glass out. There you go. Lay aside everything you fucking know. That's what he means. That's what he means by that. Lay aside all you think you know about life and this life and everything. Because what I knew about life was fucking destroying me and destroying fucking others. And it was only when I was able to tip that fucking glass out and go, right, my glass is empty, and become teachable again, that I actually started to fucking reap the rewards in life. The changes started to happen. Doing the therapy, education, writing, starting a business, leaps of faith, as you call it, to actually get into a point in life where I go, you know what? My life is so fundamentally different from how it was back then that you can't deny something miraculous has fucking happened.
No.
And, you know, the wise would call it divine intervention, you've been saved or whatever. But for me, I just call it good old simple fucking, you know, something fucking done for me what I couldn't do for myself. And in the acknowledgement of that is very empowering, because if it done it then, it can continue to do it. And that's been my experience.
Same there.
And that's all we need to know about spirituality. And a wise person said to me once, I used to say to him, what's spirituality? He used to say, well, whatever you do it for the person behind. Meaning, if you give something to someone, you're not truly doing it for them. You're doing it because maybe I'm at a place now in my life where I've been quite successful. I've got a little bit of money with us. People have helped me along the way. So I can go, I can help someone else because someone helped me.
We all need that help sometimes. We all need
Of
that.
course, and that's the motive. The motive is pure then, because you're not doing anything for reward, or you're not doing things because you want something back in return or whatever, because that's exhausting. It's exhausting. And, you know, like doing things for someone just because you're always thinking about what's in it for you. No, think about what's fucking in it for them. I mean, you spoke about amends, you know, and making amends. For me, making amends for the life I've lived is about not freeing me from any guilt, burden or shame. It's about fucking freeing them. It's about, if anyone I come into contact, I'm privileged enough who I've harmed in life, I sort of want them to be free of it. And in some senses, for victims of crime, now I'm actively involved in some victim charities, as you know, and I don't want to talk too much about that. It's like, yeah, look at me, I'm doing this, but in doing so, you give them an understanding of why people behave perhaps the way they did towards them. Because a lot of victims of crime, especially violent crime, do you know the one thing they all say? Why me? Why me? And usually it was never personal. It was never about you. It was never about you. It was about them. And do you know how freeing that is for the victim of crime, especially violent crime? Because they think it's about them. They think it's something in them. They think they were targeted because of something in them. It's like when I've robbed banks and things in the past and I've put guns in people's faces. You know, what right did I have to do that? But when I've done that, a lot of them poor people I've done it to, they think it's about them. They think I targeted them because they look weak behind the counter or whatever. And in some senses, they might be right, because sometimes we do look for the weakest victim, or we do look for someone who's, you know, would I have run in a bank and put a gun to 18 stone big muscle? I probably would have done, because I didn't think that way. But the victim thinks that way. The victim thinks that way. They think it was them, and they were targeted because of them, and they carry that with them and whatever. And sometimes to be able to say it was never about you, it was about me. When I committed them acts, it was about me. It was never about you. It's freeing for them, you know. And I've had the experience of doing that. You know, I've actually I've actually worked with someone in the past that I'd committed an horrible violent crime against and whatever, and been able to say to him, you know, never about you, it was about me, you know. And I could see how much it freed them, you know what I mean, and it freed me too, you know. Yeah, and people need to hear that stuff, and we need to be honest about that stuff. And if for me to be honest about that stuff prevents me from doing it, you know. If I choose to go out and do a violent crime tomorrow, whatever else, it's about me, you know. And I've had instances, I mean, I'm not the Dalai Lama, you know. I've had road rages or whatever, so I'm like fucking idiot, whatever, but I contain myself. I bring it back to myself. The problem is always in me. You know, that person could be having a bad hair day. They could have, anything could have happened to that person who's whizzing to get past you in a, you know, their child could have just had an asthma attack, or they could have just lost someone close, or their life might be going to fucking shit. It's about them. It's not about you. Does it make sense? And that's how I view things today. It's like, everyone's got their own form of spiritual sickness, and it comes out in different ways in different people. Everybody has got their own form of spiritual sickness, even the most religious people on earth, even the fucking Pope and everyone else. It just comes out in different ways. In some people it comes out in crime and criminality, some people it comes out in drink and drugs, some people it comes out in being abusive in their relationships or in family, or some people become very loners, depressives, mental illness. You know, the end result is everyone has got their own, everyone is on their own journey, and everyone needs to find their own path through. You know, that's my belief.
Same there. I think that as people on the journey that we are, we're quick to want to find recompense for our victims, and, you know, to find some sort of forgiveness there. But at the end of the day, we have to forgive ourselves.
100%.
Unforgiveness is extremely toxic, and it's poison. And if we don't forgive people, you know, somebody said to me, it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't fucking matter. Yeah, because I used to think hate what people thought about me. You know, do they like me? Don't they like me? Why don't they like me? I'm a nice guy, you know. And that used to really dig deep. And you know, it did really hurt, and it was part of my journey. And to find that, you know, I've had to forgive some people for some horrific stuff. You know, I've lost friends to murder, I've lost family to murder, and it's been a difficult journey. This is all in sobriety. But at the end of the day, I had to learn to forgive myself, because unforgiveness is toxic. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
You know what they say?
That was it for me.
You know what they say is, don't worry what people think about you. They're too busy worrying about what you think about them. That's how people are. You know, you don't need affirmation from fucking anyone, but it's about forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself is about making amends to yourself, isn't it? It's about doing the next right thing. It's about doing what you're doing now. For me, it's about doing what I'm doing. This is about forgiveness. That's why I do it. I do it about forgiveness. It's about, like I said, making sense of your own life, trying to benefit someone else. You know, if you reach one person, if I give a talk in a school sometimes, I talk to 100 kids. If I reach one fucking kid, and I've done a talk recently in a university, and it wasn't a university, it was a grammar school, and you could tell they hadn't come from my fucking life. They're all like little privileged fucking rich kids, and they're all like clock watching and all that when you're talking and all that. But you know, one kid come up to me afterwards and he said to me, do you know what, I really need to talk to you. And I sat down with him for like half hour and I thought, what a fucking worthwhile day that was. I had like 99 fucking arrogant little spoiled little brats who are gonna hit the wall at some point in life because they know it all. They're gonna hit that fucking wall. And I had the one little kid who sat there and said thinking, and I thought, you know what an honest man. And in recovery, they say the most honest person and the wellest person in recovery is the person who knows how fucking sick they are. That's you know, I went to I've been to meetings before, and I went to a meeting once and a fella come in and he was effing and blinding and shouting and whatever, and he stormed out the room and someone went out and got him and brought him back in, and people was like, why are you bringing him back in? He's like, you know, like some people can clean up, become holier than thou and become really look down their nose at others and whatever else, but you know, that's sad because they forget, you know, they're in real danger because they think they're well. But anyway, a wise old timer said to me, you know, he's the wellest person in the room. And I thought, what do you mean he's the wellest person in the room? And he was fucking right, because he was the one who was fucking the most honest. Everyone else is keeping up the pretense they're all doing well and everything's okay and everything's hunky-dory and they've come so far now, they'll never go back. Fucking arrogance, you know, and it's horrible to see, you know. They say in life and they say in meetings, don't stick with the winners, plenty of sickness there. Stick with the stickers, they'll always be there. And what they mean by that is the people that fucking turn up, the people that show up, the people that do life. You know, you can't, like I said, how I started this talk earlier, you can't transmit what you haven't got. If you want to see how well someone is, look at their fucking life. Look at the company they keep. Look at them. Are they happy? Don't look for people in life who have got something you want. Look for people who have got something they want. And you'll never go wrong. You know, if you choose, if your life's going to shit, new playgrounds, new playmates, you have to be hard in this life, you know, because like I said, your mind won't let you know where you're at. Look at the company you keep. And if things are going to shit, it's usually because of who you've got fucking around you. You know, if you've got negative, toxic people in your life and all that sort of stuff, it brings that stuff out. It's contagious. If you've got positive people in your life and people who are trying and people who are getting up and showing up for life, who are choosing life, it's contagious too, but in a positive way, you know. Else you just become anger, bitter, venom, spatting venom all the time, and everything. You just become unhappy and bitter, twisted. And if you end up that way, you're going to destroy yourself in one form or another. And I speak from experience. You'll either go back to drink or drugs, or you'll go back to crime and criminality, or just having it with people that use and abuse you and fucking whatever else. So, you know, the path is pretty clear. I'm going to have to
yeah, mate,
probably get off, but it's been an absolute fucking pleasure, Jack. I've really enjoyed it. It's been we started this and you said it would be very cathartic. For me, it has been wonderful. It's been really cathartic. It's been nice to just be honest. You know, I don't never script anything. I just talk how it comes out, But it's been I feel like I've really really engaged with you tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for coming on. Let me just sign off, and then I'll cut the feed, and then we'll just have a little bit of a debrief. Is that all right for 2 minutes?
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. As always, your comments and your support is appreciated to the fullest. I love it that you guys get involved and you have your conversations in the comments. I'm going to go through them in a little.
Can I just say, I bid you all the utmost success and happiness in life, and just do what you want. Choose life. Cheers.
So, yeah, I don't remember who we've got next, but I think It is. It's Matt Price.
Oh, brilliant.
Matt
Yeah.
Price, a lovely guy. Was a victim of crime. Great stand-up comedian. Got some really good stories. I get on really well with him. I've spoken to him on the phone a few times. So it'll be really nice to have him on. That is on the 9th, Tuesday, the 9th of February. So I will see you then, guys. I'm going to cut the feed now. And I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers, guys.